Hello and welcome back to our how-to session. And this time we are going to see how we can do fixed bands, and Luke is going to show us how to do maybe some volume or capacity plots with this. And he's using the fantastic create bands feature that we provided you with in SatView. So here we go, over to Luke.
Thank you, Eric. So, as Eric said, one of the options within the bands is fixed bands. So this is where all the bands are of a fixed width. So if we go into the Create Bands dialog, we could, for example, do these kind of bands for delays. Or we could, for example, do them for V/C ratio. As a side note, it's worth noting that if you ever select one attribute here and then change it for another, you'll see that in the legend the intervals change, but the legend entry doesn't automatically change. This can easily be rectified by simply toggling up and down, and then you'll see that's been corrected. So with the V/C, the intention is that we show V/C as a red, amber, green setup, so that we have a quick snapshot of the links where the most significant capacity issues exist. So I've chosen my V/C ratio. We can choose fixed bands down here, so all the same width. We could say that we want bands of 30 meters. We can have an offset if you wish. In definition query, if you only wanted to see the bands for the worst links, you could, for example, put a minimum value of, say, 50. In terms of the labels tab, I'm going to immediately say that I want to round to the nearest one, for the simple reason that I don't want the labels to have numerous decimals for them when it's not of much use to us to be seen. I'm going to show this data on all the simulation turns in the full network. And in terms of the legend, I'm going to give it a title of V/C. The main thing to then set up is in terms of the legend classes. So I'm going to have 3 classes in which we're going to have an interval of 0 to 60 to show the links where V/C is low. The second being 60 to 90. And the third being 90 to 110.
So you can also change the legend entry, can't you? So if you go in and double click on the legend entry, then
yep. So for example, we could have good, average and bad as our legend entries, so that it's clear what these refer to. If we wish, we could then say in brackets have the actual ranges we're referring to. But in this case, I'm going to stick with just those names. In terms of the colors being used, if we choose the diverging option, we can see that a red, amber, green type setup appears for us if we use one of the pre-selected values. And if we refresh the legend, if we show width legends, it will then give us what each of these refers to and the values we've put in appear. So if we now go and generate these bands.
Yeah, I was going to stop you because you seem to have the red as the lower. So we definitely need to go and change that. Another thing I think we need to change is that we can see the labels for all the lower values, and it probably just clutters the plot. So maybe the first thing you can do is reverse the colors. Oh. Yeah, and then something funny has happened here because we're selecting diverging, then it decides. This is almost like troubleshooting. If I'll just let Luke drive this for a short time, but basically, because he was in diverging, and he also had an equal interval. So if he goes to manual, then if he types manual, if he come on, I'm sure I selected the manual. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So then if we go into the manual, we can then choose to put in the numbers that needs to be there. That was 0, and then it went to 60, and then 60 to 90, and 90 to 110. And then if you go to and tick the reverse colors, then you will get the green as the good and the red as the bad. There's quite a lot of culture in these colors, so it's not always the red is bad. In China it's good, but here we go.
And then, if, as Eric suggested, if we also in terms of the labels set that we don't want to see any values below 60, so we're saying that all the bands that are going to appear as green, we're not interested in the values. So we've now made those two amendments. If we go and create the bands again and zoom to the full extent, we can quickly see the links that matter to us in terms of the ones where capacity is an issue. And as we've just done, we only show the numbers on these links, and again it gives us a bit more detail on the links that matter.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice plot and goes right to the core and shows us exactly what we want. If you want to, you can probably make some of the bands a little bit thinner, or you can offset them. Maybe you should try the offset and then call it a day. What do you think, Luke?
So yeah, but if we set a small offset value of say 5 and then recreate the bands, it just makes it a little bit clearer by offsetting them from the links that you're referring to.
Yeah, and obviously you could export all of these bands to map in for a shapefile just by clicking on the export. I think we would call it a day. Thank you for listening in, and enjoy doing fixed bands. It's very good, useful for bus routes and bus lanes and all sorts of stuff that you might have and might want to show. So yeah, be our guest. Bye bye.